Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my channel. We'll start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can see Bitcoin went from sell zone to the buy zone, now in the middle neutral zone. Then we'll review all the major indices, including S&P 500, Nasdaq. We'll review all the FANG stocks, and then we'll wrap up with commodities. Please hit the like button, guys. Only takes 1 second to hit the thumbs up button and share this channel with friends and family. I really appreciate that. All right, so Bitcoin, you can see nice came to the sell zone, came back to the buy zone, almost 5% dump, and now it's hovering here. If it goes below 104, look to buy. If it goes above 106, look to sell. This is only for day trading. Just want to be clear, only for today's trade, okay? So not for long term. If you want to look long term, let's quickly look at daily chart. Here you go. Let's see how Bitcoin is doing. You can see Bitcoin is cooling down a bit. Found support on this green line, 10 moving average between green and white line. Now cooling down a bit. All right. So it could come all the way down back. There's some support here around 96K. So they could bring it back. Now, one thing to note, it keeps going higher with big divergence. You can see it's clearly visible here. So it's going higher on a bad momentum, like a negative momentum, because price is making higher high here. You can see price is making higher highs. RSI, this is making lower high. PPO making lower high. Okay, so that means we got to be careful, and Bitcoin can surely come down because momentum is losing, and you can draw a trend line like this. All right, and let's see when it can gonna come back to hit this trend line. That could be first buying opportunity. If not, one thing to note, that there is a gap which was created here. If I go to 1 hour chart, this is Bitcoin CME futures. You can see here, this was on Sunday, 15th of December, gap up. Okay, never came back to fill that gap. It is going to come back, probably going to fill that gap at some point from where we are right now to that gap is almost 3%. So it can do it like in a quick session anytime right now. All right, and then once that gap is filled, there's another gap, 77K, and then 53,950. Okay, so let's just focus on this gap and this gap. It could fill very fast, right? Like once it starts to dump, it will can there could be a big sell-off. So just keep that in mind. And if you're in profit, look to take profits. Okay, I don't recommend shorting. I recommend taking profits. Have some cash. Whenever that dump happens, you can look to buy because this is a guaranteed gap fill, 100%. We just don't know when it will happen. Ethereum, you can see going higher. Same thing here, negative momentum. You can see RSI going lower. PPO has no more negative momentum. So one of the momentum indicators showing negative momentum, other one is flat. So, but again, it's finding support on this 20 moving average on daily chart. And if you look at Ethereum gaps, this gap is filled. I forgot to remove it. So this gap was created, which is filled now. So there's only one gap left now around 2970. So it could come all the way down from where it is right now. Just keep that in mind to fill this gap at 22,975. For some reason, it's showing a gap here as well today. So I don't know why. Maybe it's a 1 hour gap and Ethereum decided to dump. So there's also a gap around 39.70. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, that's it for crypto, guys. Let's move to our regular market, SPX. You can see cycle chart looking for a cycle high, like looking for some little bit. We had a cycle down here, like only minor pullback on this cycle low here, maybe like 1.5%, and that's it. Now it's going on a rising phase, so looking for higher prices, and that's what we are getting. You can see S&P 500 is consolidating, finding support on its 20 moving average, trying to go higher. Okay, this is a lot of consolidation, trying to go higher, and SPY. Uh, there's a gap here, top gap around exactly around 6.07, and there's also a bottom gap around 599. Okay, 598. So right now in the middle, I could go fill this top gap and then come back down to fill this bottom gap. That's quite possible. Also, this election gap, sometime it will get filled. I just don't know when. Probably next year it's going to get filled. I think it's going to be very bullish from now until year end. So we'll see how that plays out. And in terms of regression chart on MES, let's see, here you go. Let me make it higher. If I look at US 500, you can see very interesting. It's going towards the bottom green line, white line. So below 6,000, it could come. That would be a good buy here. Okay. Nasdaq, on the other hand, is in the sell zone. You can see every time it touches this top white line, usually a good time to sell. So that's where it is right now. Okay, if it sells, then usually it's a good time to sell, basically. And then Russell is in the buy zone, and Dow Jones is probably in the buy zone as well. You can see it's a nice area to buy as per this indicator. Okay, going back to the daily chart of Nasdaq, you can see here nice near previous all-time high, just consolidation above that area here. And if you look at NDX, there was a gap down yesterday, so probably they're going to go try to fill that gap, and then there are all these green lines are the gaps to fill. Just be a bit careful on Nasdaq as well. Triple Q, same thing here. Now I'm keeping an eye on this gap. It looks far away, but around gap around 491, that could be a possibility to fill as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Dow Jones is getting a 9 counts buy signal. Yesterday went tested, now touching this 50 moving average, finding some support here. This is mainly down because of UNH, and I think it's up. You can see 1.34% pre-market. Now got a 9 counts buy signal yesterday as well. You can see every time we get 9 counts buy signal, it bounces. So that's what we got yesterday. So let's see if it's going to bounce now. And it's quite possible there's another gap 471.82, and there's also this elections gap around 439. So looks like a waterfall selling, very oversold indicator RSI. So bounce can get failed, and it could come back eventually to 438. But yeah, it's due for a bounce. So I think it's a dead cat bounce on Dow Jones happening right now, and Russell also sitting on this 50 moving average. And on DIA ETF, there is a gap. They're probably going to fill that gap, 438 top gap, and IWM also right now actually it filled this gap. So it was a gap up yesterday. They filled this gap by the end of the day. Now it's going higher, probably the other gaps, and then also election gap is here as well. So it's probably all these gaps gonna get filled at some point. Toronto Stock Exchange also near 50 moving average holding. Hang Seng Index just consolidation, looking for this 18K area to fill it. And then bonds looking weak, getting a 7 counts buy signal at previous low. So this is a nice area to buy near previous support. So probably can get 7 and 8 counts and then bounce. That's also quite possible. Crude oil, let's look into commodities. Crude oil looking nice. You can see it had breakout. Then last 2 days, yesterday was a nice wick of the 20 moving average. Today also holding this 50 moving average. So next resistance is here right above. If it breaks, there's a gap around 74K. It's going to probably go try to fill that gap, and that's going to be next resistance around 200 EMA SMA. You can see here it went all the way up here and then cooled down, so that's quite possible as well. CNQ is like waterfall selling on the entire energy sector actually, to be honest. You can see this is XLE from the top to the bottom, almost down 12%. CNQ also this nice unforeseen dump is like almost down 11%. All right, but it did have dividends, and there are all these gaps 100% going to fill. You can see this big gap down. This is going to fill at some point. So if you can hold, if you can have patience to hold to this top gap fill, you're looking at almost 18% pump. Okay, that's that's a very good risk reward ratio, right? There's not a lot of gaps left at the bottom. So just keep that in mind. Okay, this is sorry, that was Canadian sector. This is CNQ US. Again, one gap is also there, 29.71. That's the last gap, um, and after that, all these yellow gaps to fill. Okay, keep that in mind. Uh, what else is there? Let's keep moving. Natural gas is in the yesterday filled this gap, so I have to fix these gaps because some of these are filled yesterday. But there's also this big gap here, and there are no gaps on the top. So it's right in front of this 20 moving average. If it breaks, it could try to go for another all-time high. If it breaks down, this gap can get filled. Gold, I'm not bullish on gold. I want gold to go around 2400. So I'm just gonna wait. Silver is gonna follow. So Gold and silver is I'm not going to buy near all-time high. Sugar broke down yesterday, coming near some support, so looking for a little bit more lower and then buying possibility later. Wheat is very weak. As long as it's below 561, I'm not touching it. Corn also above all moving averages, holding nice, flagging. Could be ready for a breakout here. And then dollar also in front of some resistance area. And if it breaks up, then it's going to be bad for gold and Bitcoin. Let's see what happens. And nothing major on FANG stocks. Finally, NVDA is bouncing after getting a 7 count buy signal pre-market. You can see, let's see how far it can bounce. Tesla, like a blow off top. The way it goes higher, it can come back down straight as well. So just keep that in mind. All these gaps are there to fill. And lastly, VIX is big gap here. If VIX tries to fill this gap, then more pain is coming. If not, then if it comes back down, then stock market is still going higher. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Please hit the like button on your way out, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.